Well, viewers, the bulldozers are back in Bengaluru. The Bengaluru civic body is carrying out a demolition drive in parts of the city after Karnataka Deputy Chief Minister and Bengaluru in charge, D.K Shivakumar, directed that all the encroachments should be cleared, especially those, of course, on the storm water drains. The BBMP has identified 571 encroachments in about 8 zones, has surveyed about 110 properties. Now, meanwhile, the residents of Bengaluru are resisting the demolition. They say the demolition should not be carried out as the matter is in court. Now, this, of course, is the second time the drive is being undertaken. Now, we should note that the first time, of course, was before the elections, under the BJP, when the demolition drive was going on. We, of course, brought you a lot of highlights during that time, controversies as well, where questions were being raised whether the high and mighty were left out of the demolition drive. Now, the drive, which was conducted in September last year, had to be stopped due to the state assembly elections. Now, overall today has been an action-packed day. It was an apartment or a villa, rather, complex in the Mahadevpura area, where once again the demolition drive was being carried out. There were protests, there was drama, there were JCBs. My colleague Toya was at the spot earlier in the day. She brings us this report. Take a look.
Well, absolutely. Currently, where I'm standing over here at Mahadevpura Fern City layout, where you can see towards my left-hand side, the demolition drive is happening just a day after the D.K Shivakumar, Deputy Chief Minister, who is also a Bengaluru Development and Town Planning Minister, gave a clear-cut direction to clear encroachments constructed on the stormwater drains, as his government is prepared an action plan for Vision Bengaluru and Better Bengaluru. The drive is happening for the second time. Previously it happened in the month of September in 2022, and due to Karnataka Assembly elections, they had to stop. Now again, BBMP has began the demolition drive, and from Saturday, and they have also started the demolition drive from Mahadevpura and KR-Puram areas of in Bengaluru. But you can see currently this demolition drive is happening at Mahadevpura at Fern City layout, where you can see that this is a layout, and they've also the BBMP officials have also marked that the stormwater, they've also marked with the red paint the stormwater drain, and also you can see that some time back the residents of Mahadevpura from this Fern City layout have also tried to create a ruckus that and try to stop the BBMP officials to not demolish, to stop the demolition, because the residents have also approached the High Court and they have submitted their petition, and the hearing will be happening at today 2:30 p.m. 2022 September, there was a demolition drive that happened in Bangalore, in most of the flooding areas where the buildings was constructed on the stormwater drains. So now that the demolition drive is again started for the second time, so now BBMP has got an instruction from the Tahsildar and the orders has been passed. So now that they're doing the demolition, did you get any kind of notice before the demolitions?
No, before this all started, we didn't get any formal notification. Absolutely no notification. It just started suddenly this morning. Okay, so that's our surprise part. And in fact, we have been in talk with BBMP for, in the historical reasons. In last September, something like this happened. And we've been in talk with them. We want to cooperate with them. We want to give them alternate path. All this conversation happened. Despite of all of these things, what we see today is that an action which is demolishing entire building. Despite of us telling us there is alternate path, we want to cooperate. We want to give you that solution. But no, what has happened? Look at the building. Right? The nice building has been demolished now. That's our frustration.
Sir, and also now that Mahadevpura being the highest taxpayers in the Bengaluru city, and the residents of the Fern City has submitted a petition to the High Court and waiting for the hearing at 2:30.
That's right, yeah. We applied to in fact, the filing was done last night only. And the indication that BBMP team initially gave was, if you give us the filing number, we will not go ahead with the any coercive action. But despite giving them that number, they landed up in the morning and started the demolition work. Especially initially again they had said they would not touch the building, but you can see the result for yourself. This end here and then again there, they have touched the building as well. And most importantly, there is no order that they have shown us as to why they are taking this action. Okay, Parag has mentioned there was no notice in the first place. But there should be some kind of an order from a Tahsildar that, this is, okay, encroached land, and you are ready. You are free to demolish. There is just absolutely no order. So on what basis are they demolishing this? This at all is to us it appears totally illegal.
Well, the residents naturally, of course, are not happy with the demolition drive that's going on. But on the other hand, the monsoon, of course, is fast approaching. You do have a perennial problem, especially around this particular area of flooding. We've seen what happened last time around, of course, when the rains came down and we saw the entire IT corridor flooded. Now, joining us today to talk more about this particular problem and whether there is in fact a solution even is Dr. Sudhir Krishna. He's a former secretary from the Ministry of Urban Development. Dr. Sudhir, thank you so much for joining us on this show. And more importantly, I'd like to ask you, we've heard the residents. Now nobody is going to be happy when a JCB is going to come down, bring down their wall. But there is a lot of problems, of course, that lead up or lead to this particular situation, because you have the paperwork that the real estate people give to the customers, which does not more often than not show that there was a Rajakalwe or a stormwater drain flowing through this particular stretch. Many of them, of course, are unaware. Some could have been aware. But what's the solution here? Bringing down people's homes? Some of them say that, they were not even issued a notice. Or do you really look at, the city, the, betterment of everyone as a whole, ensure there's no flooding and go ahead with this entire process?
I think the past experience has shown that Bangalore and many other cities, they are being subject to massive development and construction activities at the cost of water bodies in the first instance. And of course, there are other natural resources which are being adversely impacted. So at a macro level, I would say that the action of the BBMP is very much right. However, people have to be educated also. People have to be taken into confidence. Now satellite imagery maps are available. Why not we publish the satellite map of the drainage and superimpose on that the revenue maps and the building construction that are there, and tell the people that these are the obstructions which are being removed on the natural drainage systems. So I'm sure people will appreciate more. And so to the extent the awareness has to be created, that probably has to be given more attention. And Bangalore people particularly are quite enlightened, even because you are showing on the picture affluent areas, but even because I have lived in Bangalore for several years, even a common man in Bangalore is also very much enlightened. And if proper education is given, they will appreciate also. Secondly, there should be, results should be shown also. For example, wherever the demolition has happened, during last year, if the area has suffered less flooding, that should be also displayed. Then people will also appreciate what action is being taken. And thirdly, there are two kinds of people in such activities who are impacted. One is the economically better off, and second is the people who are in the slums and, poorer economic strata. So we have to take care that people who are in the poorer economic strata, they are also given a way out. Because, if they are living in whatever hutment, and if those hutments are demolished, then where would they go? So these are the things which have to be taken care. And I think it is high time to prepare a master plan for drainage system for Bangalore. And, because Bangalore is expanding so much. Not long ago, today Bangalore is 750 square kilometers. And I think about 50 years ago, it may not have been even half of that. The population of Bangalore in 2011 was just about less than 60 lakhs. Today, it is double of that. So there is so much pressure and expansion of the city. The natural bodies are just getting ignored, And Bangalore was a city of lakes and drains.
Well,
it has no river. Bangalore
Dr.
has no major
Sudhir, you're
river.
right.
Kaveri.
It is a city of lakes. Yes, Dr. Sudhir, but the question here is, when it floods, who's affected? It's the common man. When there's a demolition drive, who's affected? More often than not, it's the common man. The question here is, when are the officials going to be pulled up? Because I want to ask from your experience, there are, of course, layers of permissions that you need to get before you build, an affluent society like the one that we're seeing today that's, being brought down. Now, the question here is, who gave them the permission to actually build it on top of a stormwater drain? Now, if you did, where is that official? Why is he not behind bars? Are you going to set an example or not? Because at the end of the day, the victims continue to be the common man. He's the one who's paying, to get this particular site registered, this villa registered. Now, he's the one who's going to bear the cost of the demolition. Some of them will be left homeless. When are the officials going to be pulled up for this?
Absolutely. I think you have made a very right point, and it is not only that approvals were given. There are instances where approvals were not given, buildings have come up, yet they have remained in position for years, if not decades. And all of a sudden, demolishing such structures will call for action against those who allowed these things to continue for so long. So I think it is high time that while we work on educating people of the benefit of removal of encroachments, we should also educate people that government is taking action against those who allowed these wrong constructions to happen. Because as you rightly said, that the buildings would not have come up without proper approvals, and because after the complex is ready, there is something called occupancy certificate given. And the occupancy certificate is given. Before the occupancy certificate is given, the buildings cannot be occupied. And before issuance of occupancy certificate, the authorities concerned, maybe the development authority or municipal corporation or town planning authority, they come and inspect that place construction has happened as per the approved plan. And once that certificate is given, then both parties, the government becomes more responsible for having allowed people to occupy some property, some layout, which later they find that it was wrong. So the point is very well taken, that action is called for against those who, and this must be publicized also, that government is alive to, as much it is being publicized, that government is keen on making Bangalore beautiful, but to make the government administratively also beautiful by removing such people or taking people to task who allowed all these things to happen. And lastly, I would say that it should be given, very soon the area should start looking good and clean. The debris should not be lying around here and there, and it will be very sad actually if that happens. So the area should look good, water should start flowing well. Just now you showed a while ago, Chennai is having flood-like situation when heavy rains have come. So while penalizing the officers is necessary, but that shouldn't be only one part of the story. Ultimately, the city has to have proper, sustainable living environment, for which flow of rainwater, a smooth flow of rainwater is one of the prime conditions. Of course, solid waste management, waste should not
Dr.
go
Sudhir,
there.
I think you made some very crucial and interesting points there. Dr. Sudhir, thank you so much for your insight into this. But of course, like you mentioned, while the encroachment drive is important, while of course clearing of the stormwater drains that have been encroached is a must at the moment, but also, like Dr. Sudhir was pointing out, there are occupancy certificates that are issued by the BBMP here. Now, there are, of course, going to be signatures of these officials who are giving clearances. Why not pull them up is the moot question. We'll, of course, continue to ask this question to the officials and, of course, the government here. But time to move on to another story that's coming in now from Karnataka.